took it so long to publish this book?
See, in order to understand that, we need to understand what was part 1. So part 1 was written way back in 1965, 66. It was published in about 66, 67. And that was the culmination of a lecture series which the Homeopathic Postgraduate Association ran since the 1930s. So that was about 30, 40 years of work that was put in by a team. And it was putting homeopathy in classical thought, on classical lines. So it was a very sound pedagogical exposition of what homeopathy as a discipline was. And for the first time, we were able to get homeopathy from the perspective of a modern clinician and how he is able to integrate homeopathic principles with his practice. Now, what happened subsequently was that MLD sir started exploring how students learn actually how homeopathy is practiced, how good standardized scientific homeopathy is practiced. And that led him to a very different field of education, medical education. And at the time that he was, and when ICR was established, that was in 1975, we are having the golden jubilee of ICR now. So he went into modern educational principles, which he then incorporated into the type of work that the ICR was engaged in. So from 67 to 87, these 20 years were spent in consolidating that aspect of his work. And so the advancing frontiers, it brings his learning of all these years into practice before he passed on in 87. And I think if Bipin sir is able to give an idea of what the advancing frontiers was when we took over the aspect of writing it afresh.
No, before that, I mean, I will add to what sir has said. Interestingly, if you look at the journey from a part 1, which is more, textbook style, but it is being properly structured and in the flow of how homeopathy works. If you look at the chapters are being arranged in that way. Now, if we look at the transition, what sir has said, from the primary theory or the concepts to practice, the transition required a competent homeopath. And probably MLD sir has looked into the type of competencies and the efforts a homeopath need to put in to become a competent homeopath. So he went into each of these chapters in a practical application oriented, that what are the issues, what are the concepts which will be, if imbibed, will make a better homeopath of a learner. So the advancing frontier is the outcome of those efforts of practice, getting more and more efficient in practice. What does it require to imbibe and generalize all those concepts? So each of these chapters are connected with the fundamentals practice of homeopathy, but there are practical applications in day-to-day practice. So what are the processes? What are the evidences? What system one has to follow so that we are able to become a scientific evidence-based homeopath, which are attuned with the competency-based dynamic education, which is now the part of NCH curriculum in undergraduate and extended part, which talks of professional activities which are interested, was envisioned by sir long back, and the whole of training was based on EPAs long back, when EPA is not born in a scientific world or in an education world. So all those practices he applied and he developed the system. Now the part 2 is a culmination of conceptualization of all the practice abstract which sir has derived, and he put it into each chapter. Now the writing itself is so abstract, and the language was difficult for a common person to comprehend and move about the application part of it. So that is why it took long whether to keep an original text as it is, since we all have gone through it, and with our experience of so many years we could comprehend, but it took long. It required multiple readings to understand each of those concepts. Each word has got its deeper dimensions. It was the highest abstraction. So the conflict was whether to keep this, the whole part of what sir's original writing is, and whether the common, the freshers to the advanced practitioners who are not attuned to the system or evidence based practice will be able to benefit out of such a rich work. And that is the thing, whether to keep it as it is or to expand on the concepts, make it simplified and demonstrate through case applications. So until and unless the day to day practice evidences or practice examples are put in, it would have been difficult to comprehend the concepts. That's why the whole effort was done, not only to simplify the text, expand the concepts, define them, demonstrate the applications, derive the concept and generalization. So it's a holistic thing which sir did, and the only effort was to simplify and put in some day to day examples.